Welcome back to Critically Incorrect, your weekly game podcast. I'm your host, Brandon, or online here today with Charlie if you wanted to say hi.
Hello.
Yeah, welcome back to episode 79. Not a huge week, but we definitely do have some pretty cool news stories to talk about, as always. Yeah, as we always start off these podcasts, we talk about what we've been playing. So, Charlie, as usual, take it away.
Yeah, I haven't played a large variety of stuff this week. I'd say the smallest thing I played is I've played probably like, I don't know, 10 minutes of Multiverses. I hopped on a bit to give Morty a go because he did come out this week. Um, but I like turned it off. I was like a match with him because I was like, yeah, there's a reason why he's got like the expert tag on his name. He's kind of complex to play. So, yeah, I'd play a tiny bit of that. Me and Brandon played just over an hour of Helldivers the other day, just with all the rumors of the second one coming out. We decided to hop onto that on PC. That was quite fun, so I definitely want to play some more of that at some point. Um, and then the other like main things I've been playing, so I've dived back into Destiny 2 the past few days, because they had their showcase during the week where they basically talked about Lightfall, which is the next expansion coming out in February, and then it was the launch of the new season. And the way I typically end up playing Destiny is I'll like grind the hell out of like the start of when the expansion comes out and that season, and then I usually end up skipping the next one because I'm super burnt out, and then I'll play loads of the next one. So I'm at that stage again because I did not play like any of the last season. And the like activity they've got this season's kind of fun. So yeah, I think I'm gonna play a decent amount of this one. And then the other game that I've played a lot of is Midnight Fight Express. I want to say I've probably played 4 hours or so of the game. I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty lengthy too. I think there's like 40 main levels, and then there's like a sandbox mode you can go into, and there's also challenges for each level once you beat them. But it's just a really fun, like Hotline Miami style game, but kind of with more melee focus. It has got some like range guns and stuff that you pick up, but it is mainly melee weapons and things. But it's all really well animated. It's developed by one guy plus like a motion capture team. But yeah, super fun game. It was one I was really excited for, and I completely forgot about the release until like the day before it came out, and then it popped up, and I realized it was on Game Pass. So if you've got access to Game Pass, definitely check it out. If not, I think it's only like I think it's less than $20, so definitely worth picking up. I'm going to be playing more of that, but oh yeah, and I did also try Saints Row and then instantly got rid of it because man, that game sucks. But yeah, that was that was it for me this week.
Right on, right on. I did not expect you to play Midnight Fight Express because we're literally like starting up this podcast. We're like, all right, what's the releases this week? And I'm the one that
I
mentioned
know
Midnight
I know
Fight
I
Express. I was
forgot
like, what?
somehow.
Like, man, played 4 hours and forgot somehow. That's
I was gonna
funny.
say I forgot it was this week. I thought it was like last week or something.
Fair, fair. In terms of what I've been playing, like you mentioned, we played like an hour of Helldivers. Besides that, actually, I did play Thymesia. That is a game. That was like really early in the week, though. So that was, yeah, last weekend. I say early in the week. The way we record these podcasts is like usually at like the end of the weekdays. So the weekend kind of starts our playtime week, I guess. So that's what I mean by that. Really cool game. We talked about it last week on the podcast about how it was like a new Souls like from a new developer. It's the first ever game. I'm like probably like 3 hours into it, 3 4 hours. It's definitely really solid. Yeah, I really like it. It's definitely really impressive. Yeah, very surprised of the quality of that game for only like $22. I think is what I paid for it. That was like the asking price, which was interesting. So yeah. Besides that, besides Helldivers, that honestly, I don't even think I've played anything multiplayer wise. Like I played a bit of Deep Rock maybe at the end of last weekend, and then I don't even think I've played Fortnite or anything else. I've been mainly like doing game dev stuff lately, but definitely want to try it. Midnight Fight Express. I did download that because I remembered like the day it came out. I was like, oh yeah, it's coming out on Game Pass. Um, so definitely looking forward to playing that, especially since it's made by I think only one guy, which is crazy. So definitely be a inspirational game to play. And then I played a bit of Destiny 2 the other night. I played some with Josh McKenna. Yeah, he's a friend of the podcast, and yeah, he's into Destiny, so he was showing me the ropes, which was kind of nice. Otherwise, I would have been like really overwhelmed and stuff like that since I haven't played in like I think the last time I played Charlie was with you. It was like Shadowkeep, I think, but the Moon expansion. Like I literally haven't
Yeah,
touched
yeah.
Destiny 2 in a while, so that was
For
cool.
a second, I thought you were gonna be like, "Yeah, I played some Destiny 2. That's about it. Moving on." Like I thought that's what was gonna happen there.
I played the opening mission for Witch Queen. It was cool. It was cool. It's actually pretty like long and stuff like that. And we played like the legendary mode, which I didn't know was a thing. You can like change like you can do standard or
Yeah,
legendary. It's fun. The thing about Destiny is like the gameplay is like super solid. I think it's probably like my favorite FPS in terms of like games, like or like in terms of like what's the right word for it? Game feel, I guess you would say. It's not really game feel because it is in the gameplay itself, but it's just so like I don't know, weighty to it. It feels so good to play. So yeah, definitely will probably play a bit more. But the way I always play Destiny 2 is kind of like you, but like longer breaks. So I wouldn't like skip a season. I'll skip like a year and a half, and then I'll like
yeah.
pick it up again. So I'll see you in Destiny 3, I guess. But yeah, we'll move on to the gaming news because I haven't played much else besides that. Uh, yeah, Gamescom happened this last week. We had a pretty cool VC party with that. We watched it with like I think 8 people in our Discord server, or not our Discord server, but common Discord server with our friends. That was fun, interesting. Like these things, I always don't really expect much, and there it was like probably a standard for Gamescom, I guess, like that, and Summer Game Fest about what you could expect. But I guess we'll go over some of the highlights here. I think like the highlight of the show for me was personally the Callisto Protocol, just because the gameplay they showed is really cool, and it was like one of the only showcases there that felt like a traditional E3 demo where they gave you a lot of raw gameplay, and just looks super fun. Obviously, there's the fact that this game's coming out like at the end of the year, so that's also really exciting. But yeah, that was cool. We got updates on Sonic Frontiers that has a release date for November 8th. Hogwarts Legacy showed up, just showed off like a new mission essentially, like a new dungeon. And then they like advertised their deluxe edition and collector's edition. Gotham Knights got a new trailer. It's coming out 4 days earlier, which is now October 21st. Dune Awakening is a game MMO in the Dune universe. I know that disappointed a lot of people, but it is being made by the people that do Conan Exile. So there is, reasons to be excited behind that. Beta signups are now open for that. Probably the highlight I'd say for like most people was the return for Dead Island 2. I'd say highlight. This probably would be the highlight if it wasn't leaked ahead of time. We've already talked about this, I believe, on the podcast. Actually, have we? It's been leaked for I think maybe at least like a week now. But yeah, that game is finally coming out after what 7, 8 years, probably closer to 8 years, yeah, since it was announced. Coming out on February 3rd. They showed off like some new gameplay, cinematic trailer. It's pretty cool. Besides that, yeah, like obviously there's like a lot here in terms of like other games like Tales from the Borderlands is getting like a sequel kind of, which is out later this year. Showed off a trailer for that. Goat Simulator 3 was here. Liza P looks like a really cool Souls-like game where you play as Pinocchio. Genshin Impact 3.0. Homeworld 3, that was also a big highlight for Charlie and I. High
That's
on
good.
Life, yada
It's
yada
now in
yada.
development.
And then probably I guess I forgot, I'll save the biggest for last. They ended off with a really big game, and that was Hideo Kojima's podcast, Brain Structure. So, yeah. But all kidding aside, it was a alright showcase, I guess, if you had your expectations in the right place. Yeah, there's some cool games to look forward to from there. But yeah, definitely, not like Game Awards level for sure, but I enjoyed it. What were your thoughts on the showcase, Charlie? What were your highlights?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent showcase. To be honest, like I was saying to Brandon before we started, um, I couldn't really remember a lot of the stuff from Summer Game Fest, so can't really say where it stacks up to that. I want to say it's at least on a similar level to that showcase. Like, there's a few things in here I liked. Like, I'd say with Brandon, I think Callisto Protocol was the best thing here. It was also one of the best things at Summer Game Fest. So like clearly that game's just really good. At least I hope it is. They're doing a really great job with the trailers and stuff for that. So, yeah, looking forward to that one. I liked the Gotham Knights trailer. I think it was cool to see some more of the villains. I'm a little bit worried that's going to be all of the villains. So you've got Mr. Freeze, I think Harley, Clayface, and then Court of Owls. I kind of hope there's some more there here and there. I really want Two Face just because I love that villain. So I want more of him because he was never in the Arkham games that much, really, overall. So that was a cool trailer. I think all the footage from Dead Island 2 looked really promising. So I hope that game's good after, development hell and restarts in development. I know they were saying on stage like this version of the game was basically started from scratch. It's got nothing left over from the old versions. So um, and they said they've been working on this for like 4 years now. I think 2018 they said they took over the project. So hopefully that one turns out well. Even though the trailer didn't really say or show much, I think the finals could be pretty interesting, which is the new like destruction heavy like FPS from a load of like ex Battlefield devs. It's from the same studio that are doing that Arc Raiders game, which got pushed back. But basically, this game's going into playtests relatively soon. They said on Steam, which you can sign up for. And I think they said like earlier in the year that this is meant to be coming out this year as well. So it's interesting to see how that one turns out because it looked kind of unique and weird. So that could be cool. I'm just having a look through see if there was anything else. Again, the Dune MMO could be interesting, so definitely interested in seeing that. And I did also like what they showed of High on Life, which they also showed some more gameplay of that outside of the show. It just looks really funny, to be honest. Like I enjoy Rick and Morty here and there, but I really enjoyed all their games that he's worked on with Squanch. So Accounting Plus and Trover were both really fun, and I really like the writing in those. So I'm interested to see what they do with this. It looks a lot bigger scale than those games, so I'm excited for that one. I also hope it does a lot better because I know Trover did really bad for them, just because that game had like no marketing. So I hope this one does well. Um, but yeah, I think that was about it for highlights for me. Oh, and the new game from the Subnautica devs, Moonbreaker, that looked kind of
Oh, yeah, that
interesting.
looked cool.
Like
Yeah.
a turn-based XCOM type game, but with like paintable miniatures and stuff. So that could be kind of cool. Interested to see what that one's like. That one's in like early access on PC like a month from now, so that one's not too far off. But yeah, there was some other cool stuff here and there, but those were kind of the highlights for me. Um, I know a lot of people were like, cool, more Borderlands stuff, but honestly, that game I feel like is just a slap in the face to anyone that likes the original Tales from the Borderlands, so I'm not picking that one up. Um, but yeah, there was some cool stuff here and there.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely did know a lot of your thoughts on that stuff. Yeah, looking forward to seeing, what we get in the next few weeks to months. Obviously we've been talking about a rumored PlayStation Showcase. That's probably going to happen. So that will be cool. And yeah, I'm sure we'll talk more about Jeff's lovely awards in the future. Anyways, a sad news story that dropped yesterday was the fact that PlayStation is going to be increasing the price for the PS5 in a lot of territories. Um, I say a lot, pretty much like everywhere but the US, essentially almost, just because the US currently has, I guess, like a stronger dollar value than the other currencies, obviously, with like inflation in the world. So yeah, sad to see. Just kind of like a reality with the economic times. We saw Facebook kind of do the same thing with the Meta Quest too. Uh, I guess yeah, that's what you call it now. I still want to say Oculus Quest 2. But yeah, we saw them do that like a few weeks ago, I want to say. It was like at the tail end of July, maybe. So that's obviously just in reaction to, yeah, them not making much profit right now. Obviously, they were like even in a worse situation since I think they were like clearly taking losses in a lot of the units they sell. PlayStation, I think, was like barely breaking even with the base model, and then they were taking losses clearly with the digital PS5 version. But yeah, it's sad. I don't really have like strong thoughts on it because I'm not surprised. PlayStation's obviously doing this just because one, they can, like the demand of the PS5 still there. Like I'm pretty sure if you go to like any Target or place that would sell a PS5, you're probably not going to see them like readily available in the shelves. So you combine that with like the current situation in the world, and it just seems like yeah, business move ultimately. What are your thoughts on that, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that they had to do this. I do think it's interesting that Xbox don't have any plans to do this right now. Nintendo don't either. Whether that holds true in 6 months time from now, will Xbox have to match them and also do an increase? But yeah, it sucks that it comes to this kind of thing. Obviously, we saw, like you were saying, Meta or done this recently with Oculus, so it's not just PlayStation trying to make an extra few bucks, right? Like this is an actual thing. It is being a problem, so Yeah, it's a shame, especially in some like parts of Europe and stuff. Like this is a big increase. I think it's like £30 here, so it's not as bad as some other regions. But yeah, still sucks to see that it's had to come to this at this stage.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's easy to like have just like reactions to this as like, oh, it's a negative thing. Uh, it is ultimately a negative thing, right? Like, there's no way of putting it like you're just paying more for the same product. It's just, yeah, sad reality of the situation. Yeah, just sad. I wonder how this will affect the PSVR 2 pricing. I wonder
Mm.
if they will increase it just because of like inflation at the moment, or if they're gonna take a loss. That'll be interesting to see what they do. I feel like they have time before they announce prices. It was like 2 months before we got the price for the PS5. So yeah, probably they'll have more time. They'll probably wait until the very end until they announce the price for that, I'm sure. But yeah, speaking of that, by the way, PSVR 2 got a confirmation for early 2023. I could have sworn this was like confirmed for like the longest now. And then I realized that I think like PSVR without Pearl, like famous like reporting like YouTube channel for PSVR news. They had like inside information on this like months and months ago that they reported on. And then Sony just never commented on it, so I just took it as true, just because they were pretty credible. But yeah, it's just now confirmed, right? We were always saying that it was probably going to be this, like I think we like played with the idea maybe it was in the fall of 2022 this year, but yeah, obviously that's not the case anymore because like we're getting really close. So yeah, this makes sense. Early 2023 is probably going to be a good time for this thing, coming out like alongside Resident Evil Village, hopefully for VR2 and the Resi 4 remake. Yeah, now we just got to see the software, but looking forward to it for sure. What about you, Charlie?
Yeah, it's cool that they're finally giving it a release window. It was kind of a weird announcement though, because it was just like a random tweet, right?
They
Like
didn't
they were
even
just
put it
like,
on like the main PlayStation Twitter. They put it on like PlayStation France and like I think Germany, and like they put it on their Instagram. It
okay,
was like what? It didn't feel like they had this plan for a
yeah.
while. It's just like randomly some of them did it. But
Weird,
yeah,
a weird
yeah.
situation. So yeah, like you were saying, like I think we kind of expected this at this point. I did initially think it would be this year, like at the start of the year, but obviously as time went on, it became clearer it wasn't going to hit that. When we weren't hearing anything about it, so yeah, early 2023 makes sense. Um, I don't know really when to guess what month. I mean, I was trying to think. Resi 4, what that comes out in March, end of March. So maybe it'll come out like April, May time, um, just before like summer, because that
Early is
classes
a
as early,
weird.
right?
Early is weird. I think we talked about this before in the podcast. Like early can technically mean like May. Like it's a weird
Yeah,
time frame. Q1 was more descriptive because obviously that's like logically the first 3 months. But now when they say early, it makes me want to think that like March through May is when this thing will come out. It could be in February, but I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit too soon. Yeah.
yeah. I think when they say early, they're kind of leaning towards late spring to summer, or like would
Yeah.
be my guess, because they don't want to say spring and they don't want to say winter. So yeah, I would say it's probably that May, like April May time frame if I had to guess. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, will be an interesting time. Personally, I would say that's a really bad time to release a headset, purely because that's in the lead up to summer, and ain't no one gonna want to play VR in the summer. Like I haven't touched my VR headsets because we've had so many heat waves over here that like I just cannot wear it for more than like 2 minutes because I just sweat like crazy. So personally, I think that's an awful idea to release it
What are you
then.
talking
But
about? You got the
hey,
fans now in the new PSVR 2 headset.
oh yeah, maybe they'll cool me down in the summer. Maybe it'll be like a benefit.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, you're right though. That is a good point. Obviously, the ideal time to put it out would be the holidays, but obviously they can't make it for this holiday, and they have God of War Ragnarok anyway. Uh, yeah, I think like March would be ideal because that would give you like a good run up. But like usually hardware in like May or April is kind of a weird spot for it. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, this thing will sell if it has good software either way. I think, if they have like Horizon, Resi 4, Resi 7, Astro 2, and whatnot. Uh, yeah, it'll be really exciting for sure. Just really want to see more games and stuff like that for it for sure. Yeah, just waiting on that now. And yeah, we'll move on. Anyway, this next news story is pretty small, but we'll just include it. It's pretty cool though. Essentially, Sakurai, the main creative mind behind Kirby and Super Smash Bros. He's like directed all those games. He started a YouTube channel and that's focused on game design. So yeah, those videos are kind of like bite-sized formats. Like 3 or 4 videos are now up on his channel. You can go check them out. But they're really bite-sized information, kind of giving like, I guess, the casual audience like a glimpse into the more like, I guess, reasoning behind why things are done in game design or game development, and the kind of the benefits behind them. So it's kind of like a good middle ground between like, purely technical concepts and just like purely talking about video games, and kind of talking in between on like why you do certain strategies that you do. I've seen a few of his videos already on the channel and they're pretty cool. I think the main cool thing is like Nintendo has greenlit him in terms of like showcasing some of Super Smash Bros. Like design documents and stuff like that. So he's gonna obviously run it by him, but to be able to see like industry, like one, it's AAA industry kind of like game design documents. That stuff usually is like never seen in the public. But two, it's Nintendo. Like when like that's like the most like secretive company in the world, I feel like, in terms of game development. So I think that's personally really cool to see, especially as someone that's like really into game dev. Yeah, definitely go check out his YouTube channel. Doing cool stuff already over there. I know you watched the first video, right, Charlie?
Yeah, so I watched like his initial kind of, hey, this is going to be my new channel. It's not linked to Nintendo, so I can kind of say what I want. Yeah, I need to go and watch some of the videos because I in that initial one he put up, the like kind of design and like flow of it was very similar to the stuff he made for Smash. So I assume Nintendo gave him free reign of that kind of stuff because
I'm
I
pretty sure he
wonder if
hired
he
their
edits.
editors, bro.
I was gonna say he either
Yeah.
hired their editors or he does this stuff himself. I don't really know. But yeah, it was very similarly done. I'm interested to see it. They all seem like they're relatively short videos too, so they'll be quite nice to watch. Um, but yeah, definitely a cool channel to check out.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Cool stuff. Want to see more of that, honestly. Hopefully. Anyways, another showcase that happened this week was like a day. Wait, no, actually, it was the morning before Gamescom. It's like a few
Yes, yeah.
hours before it, and it was Destiny 2's showcase. I watched a bit of it, just because I was doing nothing in the morning and figured I'd, be knowledgeable when we talk about this on the podcast. Because I knew you would like Destiny. And yeah, I watched the showcase. I thought it was pretty cool. Obviously, a lot of the concepts in terms of like the technical, like power stuff in terms of Destiny, it like flies right over my head because like I never understand that stuff. So I'm like way too lost at this point. But like the content and like stuff like that they showed off is pretty cool. I know this new season's like about pirates, space pirates, and plundering and stuff like that, which is cool. Some of the new environments look pretty neat. Yeah, the main thing I like about Destiny's showcases is that they always bring on like a lot of developers on there to talk about, which I think is really refreshing, which is cool. I want to see more, the two things I want to see more in terms of like showcases is like more devs on screen and more like E3 level where it's like they just give you a vertical raw, gameplay. Like those two are always the most interesting for me. So yeah, seeing a lot of developers on stage, like even like people from like QA, which normally isn't really like publicly shown off. I know they had some like QA elites on there. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Ultimately, you're in a better position to talk about Destiny, I'm sure. So what did you think about the new showcase, Charlie?
Yeah, so I missed it just because it was whilst I was at work, so I ended up like kind of skimming through it before the Gamescom happened, and I watched it most of it back the next day. Overall, I really enjoyed the showcase. I think Bungie, like you said, do a really great job having all the developers on and stuff, and they go into a lot of detail about both the upcoming like expansion, which is Lightfall, and then also like the new season and like kind of the updates they're planning for the game. Um, Overall, the new expansion, I'm like really into like what they're showing for it. The new like subclasses look really cool. With all these like green, like I think it's called Strand or something. With like the new like weird grapple hook and stuff. Like it seems like it'd be kind of interesting how that will work in previous strikes and missions and stuff. Will be interesting to see how that all works and like raids and things. Um, because I don't know, like, can you only attach onto certain things or what? But yeah, seems like that would be kind of cool. The new location on Neptune looks really interesting, or like neon skyscrapers and stuff. Very different to anything in the game right now, just because the whole idea is it's meant to be like one of the only like planets that didn't fall during like the big collapse and stuff. So, that'll be an interesting location to go through. And then obviously they're introducing a lot more of like the darkness and pyramid stuff. just because that's kind of coming to I coming to a conclusion, kind of. There's another expansion after this, which is the conclusion. So there's like some new enemy types and stuff coming with this. I do hope though, because I feel like for years people have just wanted a completely new enemy type, like race, and that's still not a thing in the game. And I don't understand how it hasn't been for nearly 10 years of Destiny at this point. So hopefully in that final expansion we get like a full-on new race of people, because in this they've got like a new like pyramid person, like mini boss type thing that can occasionally be in fights and stuff, but still not a full-on species that like the Cabal seem to be working for them. So I don't know. I hope that we get like a new race or something at some point. But obviously, I don't know what their plans are past the current like storyline, because they have said they have got plans moving past this stuff, so they're not going to be ditching Destiny 2. Which would be interesting to see how that all works, especially now that they've said they're not going to be sunsetting any more content, which basically means, because for the past few years they've been taking a lot of the old content out of the game. So what's weird is like I still have my physical copy of Destiny 2 for PS4. And I can't even play the stuff it advertises on that disc anymore. Because like all the base game stuff is gone. I think everything before Shadowkeep is no longer in the game. So there's a couple raids and things they've brought back, but you cannot play that content at all, and that upset a lot of people. Because obviously it's really bad for preservation, and like people who bought that content, you can't even play it anymore. So they've basically said that they're planning to not do that anymore. They're trying to figure out a way to make sure they can keep content in without trying to increase the game size, because that was the initial reason they stopped just adding in new content, is because the game was getting like crazy big. I think it's still over like 100 gig, but it was just adding up more and more. But yeah, they said they're trying to come up with ways so that they can have the content in the game without increasing the file size massively. To be honest, I feel like the simplest solution for this would be to have people opt in for the content they want, but then you also have the problem of, if you want to rotate out strikes each week, you could then never rotate in the old content, because what if somebody doesn't have it installed? Do they then have to install 50 gig to play the weekly content or whatever? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they do it all. I hope Destiny gets to a point where we can just have everything in the game. Because that's what it should be, right? It's an MMO. You should just be able to go to all these places and do all the content. Gigabytes. Yeah, it's weird though, because like I was watching, I don't know if you've ever watched him, but I Hate Everything. He does a lot of videos on like movies and stuff, but he does Destiny videos for like every expansion. But he put up like a 2 hour long video the other day for like Witch Queen and stuff, because he was finally talking about it, and he was saying like it's weird that this game was like, obviously it went through dev hell before it initially came out, but like since then it has always been designed as an MMO that would last at least 10 years. And the fact that they didn't plan for that, with like adding in content and building a game engine that would support having all this content, is kind of weird. So yeah, hopefully that's something they can improve upon. Whether they'll move on to a new version of their engine that's way more supportive of that, I don't know. Like, I don't see them ever making like a Destiny 3, right? Because then you're just gonna create the problems you had when Destiny 2 first launched. But yeah, overall the direction for Destiny has been great as of late. So I'm definitely really excited for the new expansion, and I'm enjoying the new season with all like the pirate theme stuff. So yeah.
They should not even do a Destiny 3 for like another 10 years. I mean, like, unless they have to. Like, I feel like it's in a good place right now with like a lot of content, stuff like that. I think their biggest hurdle is just their engine, because like from what I've heard, it's like really hard to like change things in that engine. At least it used to be like that. And obviously the way that they are right now in terms of like having to vault content, or now unvault it, but what does that mean for the size? Like, it's a tricky situation. Definitely need to get some good engineers on that and figure out how they're gonna tackle that. But I'm sure they're doing that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where Destiny is in a few years. Yeah, I already feel like it's overwhelming as someone that hasn't played it in like 2 years. So we'll see where the future holds. Yeah. Anyways, we shall move on to our last news story, which, Charlie, I guess you can mention, since I do not touch Battlefield 2042.
I was going to say, this is going to be a great one to end it on. So yeah, Battlefield 2042. For those that do care, which is nobody, season 2 is coming next week on the 30th of August. So you're getting like a new map, new specialist who's called Charlie, and he's from the UK. So you already know
Are
I'm
you
gonna be
serious?
maining this guy. Yeah, I am too. He's also in the lore of Battlefield. He's born the year after me, so you know I'm technically older than this dude. Even though it's in 2042 or whatever. But yeah, so you got that new stuff, and then also I think there's two new primary guns, a new pistol. Interestingly, this is where they're gonna start adding in guns from Portal into the main like all-out warfare mode, to kind of increase the gun count. So I think there's two or three guns from I think it's two guns from Portal are coming over at the start of season 2, which is I think the like M16 and then an LMG as well. And then there's going to be like I think 4 or 5 new guns that are getting added to Portal, and I think All Out Warfare as well later in the season with the first update, alongside like a new vehicle because another new vehicle at launch. So yeah, overall like the content package sounds pretty interesting. I was watching Jack Frags. He did like a preview video. He was saying that the new map is pretty good. It's smaller than all the other maps in the game currently. It's actually the same size whether you play on 64 or 128 players, unlike the other maps. So it is a lot smaller, and it is more like close quarters, like combat focus, which is cool because that's how I prefer to play Battlefield anyway. But he did say he doesn't think the map's as good as the first one they released. So that's a shame, but it's still probably going to be a hell of a lot better than the launch ones. Um, Annoyingly, I like for me like there's just not enough content here. Like as much as this will get me into the game and enjoying it, it's not going to bring back the player numbers they want each time. Because it'll probably do the same as season 1 did, and they'll get a nice initial boost of people just to try out the map. They'll probably get a few that stick around like I did with last season, but I just don't think it's going to be enough, and it doesn't look like they're changing anything. They said in the blog post for this that this is kind of the level of content that people should expect in all the other seasons, which sucks. Which, to be honest, to me just confirms all of the kind of reports that they're running on a skeleton crew. I know EA was saying that's not the case, but this just kind of says to me it is, considering when in previous Battlefield games you get like 4 maps, like 5 new guns, 2 vehicles, like all in the span of like 2-3 months with a map pack. So you'd have like 16 maps within a year, and this we're getting 2 maps within the span of 6 months. So clearly they are not at the same pace they were, with those older games. So I find it hard to believe they're not running on a skeleton crew, especially when there's been a lot of activity online with some of the people at the new Seattle studio. I know the creative director over there who used to work on Halo and stuff. He was like, he's been asking the community a lot of questions about how they prefer to play Battlefield and what kind of like set pieces they like in their campaigns and that kind of thing. Because clearly they're very deep in development on the game, whatever the next one is. Because I think they're doing the campaign over at the Seattle studio. So it seems like that is their main focus now, which doesn't shock me at all. But yeah, I mean, I'll be diving back in. The one thing I wish they'd have is more Portal maps. It shocks me that they haven't added any of the old maps since launch. Like, I don't know why they haven't added like Operation Metro or anything yet. I feel like that would just be an easy win for them, and loads more people would come back for that map. But you know, I don't work at DICE, so who am I to judge? But yeah, interesting season, but still not enough.
Yeah. No thoughts really. I don't play, but cool that they're adding an operator named Charlie. I'm sure that'll get me to go back to my 10-hour trial that I've still not finished. But yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much been it for this week's episode. Yeah. Nothing else. It's a pretty cool week, but yeah. Hopefully the next few will be a bit more, bigger. We could talk about Last of Us Part 1 probably next week. We'll see. I'm definitely going to be moving around at the tail end of next week since it's my birthday. So no confirmation if there will be a podcast next week. But we'll see. As always, I'll update you, of course, in Discord and Twitter. So make sure to follow us there. But yeah, for that has been it for episode 79. We'll see you next week for episode 80. Take care.
See you later.